From the Campione Law Studios in the heart of Duval County, Florida. This is the Unofficial Jacksonville Jaguars Podcast. Your host, Seth Studer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of the Unofficial Jacksonville Jaguars Podcast. My name is Seth Studer, and welcome back. Last time we did like a historical analogy into the early years of the Jaguars. We're going to do a little bit more of a conventional episode here today. We're just going to do a full season preview of the 2025 season, because we've got kickoff against Carolina Panthers here on Sunday. But before we get there, we need to inspect where the Jaguars were when we last saw them play meaningful football. So I'm going to start with a segment that I'm going to call the Preamble Ramble. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't get many weekends completely free. But about a month and a half ago, my wife and daughter went down to Disney, and I had the entire weekend to myself, and I think I stayed in home the entire time. And I binged a TV show, MindHUNTER. Season 1, and I think that came out around 2017. It's a fantastic show. I mean, David Fincher directs. David Fincher, his movies. Seven, Fight Club, Zodiac, all modern masterpieces. So when I get into work the following Monday after binging this 8-year-old TV show, I kind of laugh to myself because I can't just walk up to the water cooler here in 2025 and go, hey guys, have you guys checked out MindHUNTER Season 1 yet? You just can't do it. 7 or 8 years later, it's not old enough to be considered classic, vintage, retro cool, but it's also kind of too old to be fresh. That moment was 2017. We've kind of moved on pop culture. So in that right there, that kind of feeling is exactly how Doug Pedersen's coaching and Doug Pedersen's schemes started to feel in Jacksonville over the past 2 seasons. Coincidentally, Pedersen won his Super Bowl with the Eagles in 2017. Shoot, they built a statue of him. I think he even wrote a book the very next year after he won that Super Bowl. But over the past 2 years in Jacksonville, where he was supposed to develop and elevate a promising quarterback in the form of Trevor Lawrence, it's kind of felt that Pedersen never left 2017. His play calling, his philosophy stuck in place. And the numbers prove the staleness. In 2022, Jaguars ranked 12th in pre-snap motion. What about next year? 2023, 20th. 2024, dead last. Same with use of crossing routes. 2022, 10th. 23, 31st. And dead last in 2024. It's just like everything got gummed up and stale. No fresh ideas. And remember, 2023 was the first year offensive coordinator Press Taylor seemingly took over as the offensive play caller. And Doug Pedersen never really kind of came out and said who's calling plays and what. And on defense, it was kind of the same thing, the staleness. The same problem showed up in 2024. Last, 32nd in blitz rate, 30th in use of stunts. It was completely predictable football, completely stale football on both sides of the ball. Just like in Philadelphia, where Pedersen eventually got fired in large part because of Press Taylor and a staff that couldn't evolve, well, the same thing happened here. They just lazily lounged in yesterday's NFL concepts. So, in my opinion, 2017 is Doug Pedersen. So from here on out, I'm calling him Doug Pedersen. And since no one's hyping Chance the Rapper anymore, I'm calling Press Taylor, his adopted son, Press the Rapper henceforth. And ousted general manager Trent Baalke, he doesn't even deserve a nickname. Pedersen, he's a great individual by all accounts. So, hey, thanks for the memories. But stagnant scheme and lack of imagination are a primary reason why the Jags went 4-13 last year. Because if 2017 is the past, 2025 is the now. It's the future. And the future starts Sunday against Carolina. Let's get modern. Let's get fun. And that concludes this episode's Preamble Ramble. So I want to thank Campion Law for sponsoring this podcast here. We do great work here. If y'all ever need an attorney, especially for personal injury, feel free to reach out, give us a call. We'd be happy to help you. Whew. I just had to get that off my chest, though. It just felt so, because the Jaguars last year went 4-13 after going, 9-8 the two previous seasons, 4-13. And in one-score games, the Jaguars were 3-10. 3-10. When you lose that many close games, eventually you have to point the finger towards coaching. And fortunately, we got a brand new regime. Total, top to bottom, scrapped. To the roots, to the foundation. And what do we got? We have Coach Liam Cohen coming over from Tampa Bay. Did a great job coaching up Baker Mayfield. Threw a bajillion yards last year, like 40-plus touchdowns. We also have a brand new first-time offensive coordinator, 29 years old, Grant Udinsky, and first-time defensive coordinator in Anthony Campanelli. We got a new GM, James Gladstone. I'm calling them Zaddy Gladstones for reasons I'll elaborate here at the very end. And we got a new executive vice president in the form of our Hall of Famer, Tony Baselli. Again, the most Italian-sounding, least Italian person I've ever heard. So, we got all of these new pieces. First-time GM, first-time head coach, first-time OC, first-time DC. And it looks bright, but it's untested. And we're going to figure out when they're put to the test here soon on Sunday. But, the real issue here for the Jaguars, it's obvious. It's what does Trevor Lawrence do next? And in evaluating him, there's been a lot of national discourse on this. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he average? But I think you got to understand, in 2022, he was throwing darts in the last part of that season in our playoff run. And in 2023, for the first part, until that, what was it? Week 12, week 13, Monday Night Football against the Bengals. That high ankle sprain where he bent like Gumby and had to walk his own down the players' tunnel. Ever since then, he just hasn't been the same. So is he good? Is he bad? Is he average? Is he great? Is he piss poor? Honestly, I just think he's been injured. Going through it, 2023, week 6, sprained left knee. 2013, what we just talked about, high ankle sprain. And then he had a shoulder sprain week 16, 2023. And that's when the Jaguars fell off and collapsed and didn't make the playoffs, when they damn well should have. 2024, another left shoulder sprain, week 9. And then in week 13, one of the dirtiest plays I ever seen. Azeez Al-Shaair went headhunting and just laid the boom on Trevor Lawrence as he was sliding. Dirty, 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 and knocked him out for the rest of the season. So where are we with Trevor Lawrence, right? Is this a prove-it year? Hell yes, it is. But I want folk to try to understand from my point of view, he ain't going nowhere. Trevor Lawrence is going to be ours for the foreseeable future because that big contract extension he signed prior to last year, the first year of that 5-year extension doesn't kick in until season 2026. He's got to be here for a while. Does he have faults? Yes. Does he fumble too much? Yes. Does he throw and play hero ball too much? Yes. Does he sometimes force it? Yes. But I think that has a lot to do with the coaching I was talking about at the beginning of this show. In the scheme and trying to make sure that, Trevor, I want you to go out there and play in all Madden mode all the time. Just not get any easy throws, easy completions. I mean, shoot. And what are the pros? Well, he has a rocket arm. You look at that tape in late 2022, early 2023, he's throwing bullets, throwing just 10 out of 10 difficulties. Even the Russian judge would give it a 9.5. That's how difficult these throws were. And he made those, and so, I'm just a guy with a microphone here. And the national media sometimes ignores or punches down on the Jaguars. And I don't want to, play that game. But to every rule, there's an exception. And there's an exception in the form of some nasty, negative Trevor Lawrence discourse that I think is unfair by none other than Bill Simmons with The Ringer. And Bill Simmons, to quote one of Bill's favorite shows, The Wire, they say if you take a shot at the king, you best not miss. Well, I think this is one of those broadside of a barn type shots, okay? But Bill, the pod father himself, went off on Trevor Lawrence here about a week ago. Friday, August 22nd. This was Bill's evaluation of Trevor. He's not good at football. He's just not. I don't think he's accurate. I think he throws hospital balls left and right. If I was Brian Thomas Jr.'s family, I'd be terrified every game. I don't think he's a smart quarterback. I don't think that goes away. I don't think he has it. And I think if he's a complete stay away for $0 in an auction draft. We'll talk about that in a second. He continues. I watched this happen too many times when these people get infected by being on bad teams for too many years. That's it. It's like gangrene. Your leg falls off. I mean, shoot. Does Trevor Lawrence have some faults? Yeah. Is he not good at football? No, Bill. No, Bill. He is good at football. But what happens next, Bill? You know it. Next Monday, August 25th, 2025, in your own fantasy auction draft, on your own board. There's a picture right here. Bill drafts Trevor Lawrence. You literally see it right here. 9th spot, his name on the board. So stay away from zero, not draftable. Really, Bill? And Bill's a homer. We know this. It's baked into his DNA. And yeah, honestly, it's kind of part of his charm. I like it. But that homerism is bordering on the extreme. Simmons mused in another podcast to his Boston brother, Kevin Wildes, that second-round Patriots rookie running back, Travion Henderson's floor is Jahmyr Gibbs. His floor, not ceiling, floor. He said that Henderson is Gibbs on steroids. Now, Henderson might be good, but that take is ridiculous. What? Come on, Bill. Whatever Homer delusion, TB12, concoction you got baking in your Hollywood home, I want some. I want some. They are taking that Homerism in Iran and weaponizing it to make weapons of mass delusion. That's how crazy that take is, man. Woo! So let's play the same game, Bill. You think Travion Henderson's floor is Jahmyr Gibbs? Well, let's talk about the floor and the ceiling of your beloved quarterback, second-year quarterback, Drake May of the Patriots. What's Drake May's ceiling? Jay Cutler. What's Drake May's floor? Jake Locker. What's he probably got to end up as? A way less cool version of Blake Bortles. And trust me, as a Jaguars fan, I know a Bortles cosplayer when I see it. Oh, yeah, and Jaguars beat the Patriots in one of their lowly 4 wins last year. So, sorry, Bill. So, back to our regularly scheduled programming about the Jaguars season 2025 preview. Let's talk about the offense first. Dynamic, especially in the wide receiving core. You know, one of the last great thing that Trent Baalke did was draft Brian Thomas Jr. First in the first round here last year. And man, his stats, we know he's good. But do we know how good he was last year? I mean, shoot, 2024, 87 receptions, almost 1,300 yards, and 10 touchdowns. You know, and Doug Pedersen and Press the Rapper didn't use Brian Thomas that much in the early seasons, in the early games of that season. It was actually Mac Jones, who was inaccurate as hell, providing most of the production for Brian Thomas Jr. last year. 60% of BTJ's yards came from Mac Jones. 68% of his receptions came from McCorkle Jones last year. I mean, and so he hasn't even had the opportunity to gel with a quarterback who can really zip it, especially on those out routes. You know, guys, Brian Thomas Jr. was 3rd in receiving yards last year out of the entire NFL, 3rd. And he tied for 6th in touchdowns. And now we add Travis Hunter. We'll get more on Travis here at the end of the program. But we add another weapon on the offense. We signed De'Ami Brown from the Redskins. Athletic, fast, a great 3rd receiver. And our 4th wide receiver is Parker Washington, who's pretty much, you know, I don't want to call him budget Christian Kirk. He's a little better than that. He's a good receiver. So you got 4 weapons to throw to. And plus, you know, I'm a little worried, to be honest, about replacing the production of tight end Evan Ingram because he caught so many balls. However, Brenton Strange at the end of last year came on strong. And I think he's going to have a big year this year. You know, and I think he's a better natural blocker than Evan Ingram. You know, I think that's probably the one kind of question mark of the weapons. You know, and because Liam Cohen had used, you know, Cade Otton with the Tampa Bay Bucks a whole bunch when he was calling plays for them last year. And Cade Otton had a hell of a lot of production. I think Brenton Strange is going to pick up the slack. You know, and look on the offense for a lot more screens, a lot more preset motion, a lot more easy throws for Trevor to make. That's what Trevor needs. And he's got the weapons to do it. Because, again, he was playing on all Madden mode all last year. And we got a backfield, too. We got Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, and Bashil Tootin, 4th round out of Virginia Tech here in our backfield. All 3 of which are explosive. They all have, you know, I guess similar but different traits. It will be really interesting to see kind of how that backfield is split up. But, you know, I really like all 3 of them. You know, for fantasy purposes, it's very frustrating. But in reality purposes, I love it. I love it. And especially we also have LaQuint Allen, 7th round selection out of Syracuse, probably one of the best pass protectors in the draft last year. And so you're running 4 deep with some very, very special running backs. We'll see, you know, kind of who takes the edge and more carries and who's, you know, used in, you know, 1st, 2nd downs, who's the 3rd down back, you know, Liam Cohen had Bucky Irving last year, made him a breakout candidate. Is there going to be another Bucky Irving style kind of renaissance here this year for one of the 3? I don't know. It's not the same situation, but I know we got 3, maybe even 4 great running backs. But the offensive line is what gives me the most worry. We got Anton Harrison there, right tackle, Walker Little on left, but it's the interior of the offensive line that has absolutely killed the Jaguars in recent years. Just as soon as the ball's hiked, just pressure right up the middle in Trevor's face, and and we made some changes there. We added Macari from out of Baltimore as guard, and Hainsey from Tampa Bay. Now, Hainsey, his replacement was drafted last year and only played, I think, like 90 snaps or something, but he was pretty good in those snaps. And, we don't need the offensive line to be top 10. We don't even need them to be top 15. I'm just asking for like 20th, okay? Because with the weapons we have and the quarterback that we have, just, duct tape. Because duct tape can be very, very useful and very, very strong in certain situations, and, hopefully we're able to build out the offensive line. Hopefully they just gel well and they play well. But just going in, that's kind of my big thing. And most importantly, no Luke Fortner at center. We actually traded him for value to the Saints, I believe, and got like some defensive tackle help. So that's really the offense. I think you're looking at a really, really dynamic offense that can really, I could easily see top 10 offense this year with those, especially the weapons on the outside and especially with the scheme. Just look at what Liam Cohen did last year. Is he able to replicate it? Maybe. That offensive line is going to be the question mark on whether he completely duplicates his success from Tampa Bay to Jacksonville in his first year. So that's offense. Let's talk defense. Last year, disaster. Dead last in pass defense. 31st in total defense. Oh, boy, were we bad. It was so predictable. We were playing so much man coverage all the time. And we didn't have the players or the injury luck to justify playing that man scheme. It had no creativity. So who comes in? DC, I think it's Anthony Campanile out of Green Bay. Anthony Campanile was the linebackers coach in the defensive rushing, essentially did the rushing defense in charge of that. And the Jaguars are not even good at that. I think they're like 22nd. And I talked to this Green Bay fan here a little bit ago and asked him about, Campanile. And he had said that he's really creative and uses, the strengths of his players, to fit. I mean, he's able to adapt his scheme to the players, right? And that was not the case last year. I mean, last year we made Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen like bulk up. We're doing like hockey style, like rotations on the defensive line. It's like, wait, I don't even know who this guy is on third down. Who is that? This is an important down. There was so much of that last year. I don't think there's going to be any of that this year. I think that we're going to have, and we've added depth. We've added some really important depth at defense that we just didn't have last year. I think our strength is our line. Josh Hines-Allen, last year, down year. However, we know what he's capable of. We know he can give us 17 and a half sacks. He's slimmed down. I think he's going to be a great season in front of him. And then paired on the other side, Trayvon Walker. Number 1 overall pick, Trayvon Walker. They say, there's a saying that availability is the best ability. Well, that's what Trayvon Walker is. He has not been injured. He has been there, and he's been a warrior on almost every snap during his tenure here with the Jaguars, coming into, I think, his 4th year. Now, I always feel bad for Trayvon because he didn't choose to be drafted number 1. And if I were to go back in time and do the draft over, would I have drafted Trayvon Walker in front of Aiden Hutchinson? No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't have. But that doesn't matter. And I've been so impressed with how he's progressed throughout his tenure. I think he had double-digit sacks the last 2 years. And I think he's going to continue to grow and, and kind of develop into one of these kind of Mario Williams-esque, number one picks. Just this solid vet that's going to be able to provide, be a plus to his team for year on out. So we got the edges real good. And to back up those edges, we have more depth. Fan favorite Dewan Smoot back. Signed Emmanuel Ogbah, good defensive end, back. We got a lot of folks there. And then on the interior is kind of where I'm a little bit worried because we got Eric Armstead, big free agent signing here last year. Walker Payton Man of the Year last year. And, and hats off to you, Eric, for getting that award. Very, 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 very impressive, and love what he's done for the greater community. However, Eric, I'm going to need you to be Man of the Year this year, just not the Walter Payton Man of the Year, please. All right? Because, and hopefully, my understanding is they're going to be playing him there at 5 technique. They're at the defensive tackle, so he can generate that interior pass rush. Because you got, Trayvon and Josh Hines-Allen busting their rear ends, and, just not a lot of push up the middle. Hopefully, Eric will be able to improve and do that. And he's backed up by last year's second-round draft pick, Mason Smith, a bulky special. I think, and I hope he's going to improve his production. And we just need to get home. We've gotten a lot of, pressures, but we need some interior pressure to help the edges out and really make what really looks to be a great, great front four. Obviously, in the linebackers, we got Foye Oluokun and Devin Lloyd, both very, very capable, both very, very good tacklers. Lloyd needs to grow a little bit, so I'm a little worried on that end. And then we get to the secondary, which is kind of the biggest question mark of them all. Secondary, number one, is Travis Hunter going to be playing in the secondary? And if so, how often? Remains to be seen. We'll talk more about Travis Hunter later. But who do we brought in? We brought in Jordan Smith out of Dallas to play nickel. Veteran leadership presence, it seems like. We have Tyson Campbell, who hopefully improves. And then on the opposite side, is it going to be Jerrion Jones or is it going to be Travis Hunter? And Jerrion Jones played nickel for us last year. We'll see how he does on the outside. But, again, that's going to be the big question marks in the secondary. But the biggest one is really with the safeties. We got Darnell Savage and Jacksonville stalwart Dewey Wingard. I think that's our biggest weakness. We drafted a gentleman, Caleb Ransall, out of Tulane, my legal alma mater last year. It looks like he's been on IR. I think safety is going to be our biggest weakness coming into that. However, with the corners, linebackers, and the ends, I think you're going to be able to generate a lot of turnovers, and it's all going to depend on that pressure rate. And then finally, special teams. Special teams. We have a pretty good kicker. I'd say we have a pretty good kicker in Cam Little, who recent history has taught us can kick a 70-yard field goal in a game. The longest in any professional football match in history. It kind of sucks that the preseason doesn't count, and so the stat doesn't count, but it is the longest field goal in history. My gosh, 70 yards. 70 yards. And that thing could have gone, cleared from 73, 74. I mean, he's a weapon. We'll see how his accuracy does long range, but shoot, I love what I see so far. I mean, and that's such a game changer with the new NFL rule where if, kick it off, touchback, you get it on the 35-yard line. So to get into that 70-yard range, what do you need? Shoot, 10, 15 yards from that? I mean, my gosh. And then we got great punter and long snapper, too. I think our only 2 Pro Bowlers from last year to round out special teams. So, to get the gist of it, dynamic offense, potentially dynamic defense, and great special teams. Why not us? Why not now? So, let's kind of review. I'm going to look at the screen right now, and I haven't done this just yet. But let's go through the schedule, and let's go through what I think the Jaguars' record is going to be at the end of the day. All right. So week 1, Panthers home, win. Week 2 at Bengals. Now, I will say, listeners, the first part of the schedule is tough, but it really opens up on the back half. We got a tough gauntlet, weeks 2 through 7. So let's see how we do this. At Bengals. Bengals in the last couple of years have always kind of started a little sluggish out the gate. I'm going to put that as a win. So 2-0 going into week 3. Home against the Texans. That's a loss. At 49ers. Week 4. And I think that's also a loss. Jaguars traditionally have not played good on the West Coast. I think that is an L. So 2-2 going into all my rowdy friends here on Monday Night Football at home with the Chiefs. Will we do it? Will we beat Patrick Mahomes? Will we get revenge? No, we shall not. I do not think we will. I think the Chiefs will beat us. So 2-3 heading into week 6. Home for the Seahawks. Win. Seahawks have a great defense this year. I think that'll be a tough game, but I think we'll win that one. Then we go across the pond to jolly old England to face the Rams. Win. Rams, good team. We're good in England. Then we got our bye, week 8. So what is that? That is 4-3 out of the bye. Then at Raiders. And I know what I said about the West Coast, but that ain't the West Coast. Win. At Texans. I think they learned some lessons from that home loss in week 3, and they get a win in Houston. So what does that put us? That puts us through 10 weeks, 6-4. Home against the Chargers. Win. At Arizona. Ooh, this one's weird. I think that's a loss. I think the Cardinals are going to sneak up on some people this year. At Tennessee against the Cam Ward-led Titans. Actually, I think the Titans are actually not going to be bad this year. I think they're going to probably win about 6 games, 6-7. I think that's a win, though. Home versus the Colts. Well, that's the easiest win I've ever seen one. I think the Colts have lost in Jacksonville like 11 or 12 years in a row. So win. Then home for the New York Football Jets. Good defense by the Jets. Justin Fields, quarterback. No, they're not a good team. Win. At the Broncos. It's a loss. At the Colts. The Colts, I don't know what they're doing here this year. They got weapons. They got some good players on defense, but you got Danny Derps, throwing it. Yeah, I think that's a loss. And then so to finish it out, home against the Titans, win. Puts us at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-6. 11-6 is what I predict the Jacksonville Jaguars 2025 record will be. We will go to the playoffs. It is not a guarantee, but it's pretty damn close. So 11-6 is what I predict. Pros, dynamic weapons, great defensive line, and a new coach who can bring some energy to a franchise that sorely needed it in the last 2 years. Cons, offensive line, safety, and while new blood is good, we have new blood across the board. So there could be some growing pains. But that leads us to Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, whom we traded up from number 5 to number 2 in the draft to grab the best player in the draft. And Zaddy Gladstone's pulled it off. The trade, if you all remember the details, Jaguars give up number 5, their second round pick this year, and their first-round pick next year to the Browns. Now, the Browns is, with that pick that we traded the Browns, they ended up drafting a running back who ended up getting, arrested, 4 weeks later for, domestic battery. So, okay, good, I guess. But the thing is was the trade worth it? Hell yeah, it was worth it. Hell yeah, it was worth it. It's not even close. Here's why. Really, two reasons. I'm going to start off with the most superfluous reason, but something that people need to consider. Travis Hunter is a star. He is a star not only on the football field, but he's a star off of the football field in the form of a social media influencer personality. And it's kind of funny, I'm in my late 30s, and as I've been getting older, it's kind of been interesting watching how young people pick their teams, right? And you see this especially in the NBA, around 2010 or something. People weren't rooting and fans of, the Warriors or the Magic or, the Wizards or the Celtics. They gravitate a lot more towards the personalities and the star players. It's kind of interesting. Steph Curry was kind of the first, in my mind, that really kind of shifted this kind of focus from young people into who do they like to root for. And Travis Hunter, and that hasn't permeated fully into the NFL, but we don't know. We won't know until looking back on it, 10 years from now. But I strongly believe that there's going to be a lot of young kids out there who are going to become Jacksonville Jaguar fans based solely on our trade up to get Travis Hunter. Kind of wild to think about. So for the franchise as a whole, I think it's a good thing just on a purely superfluous reason. Now, why is he so popular? And why is he so interesting? Well, duh, it's because he plays both sides of the ball, skill positions, defensive back and wide receiver, and he does both well. Really damn well. Not only did he win the Heisman last year, he won the Biletnikoff Award, going to the college's best wide receiver, and he won the Jim Thorpe Award of going to the best college player at defensive back. What? And people, I've seen NFL players and commentators going, I just don't think he can do it at this level. I don't think he can do it at this level. It's just too much. It's too much. But what it's shown is that Travis Hunter accomplished this in college, granted, but he did it with half of his games at altitude. Are you worried about his stamina if he's doing half of his games playing over 100 snaps a game at altitude? Has that been figured out in the equation yet? This guy, he's built different. He's built different, and the Jaguars are trying to do something for a star player that's never been done. I guess Deion Sanders did it, but Deion did not play full-time offense ever. I forgot to ask my unpaid intern, Al, about who the last person to do this was, and I forgot to do it. But it has not been done in the modern era ever. And we are on the cusp of history. History. Zaddy Gladstones was talking about he's going to change the game itself. Yeah, it kind of sounded corny when he said it, but he's right. He very well could. So, how do we compartmentalize this going into season one, right? And it reminds me of someone. I told y'all maybe at the beginning that I wouldn't do any more history. Well, I'm going to do a little history right now because I have to compare it to something. In July of 1965, Bob Dylan walks onto the stage of the Newport Folk Festival. There's actually a great movie about this time in Dylan's life. It's called A Complete Unknown. Timothy Chalamet's in it. He does a great Bob Dylan. But until July of 65, he was folk. He was folk music. He was acoustic. He was, about and a genius. And then on that day, he gets up there after the folk people The people that run the festival go, don't do it. Don't plug in. Don't go electric. He says, F that. I'm going electric. And I think right before he plays his first song, which is a rip-roaring version of Maggie's Farm, if you haven't heard it, he goes to the band, play it loud. You know, just a complete F you to the entire folk music industry there in the mid-'60s. And he plugged in, and the crowd was split. Some booed, some cheered, but it didn't matter. Every single person there knew as soon as he plugged in and jammed that they had crossed into a new era. This Sunday in Jacksonville against the Panthers feels a little bit like that. It isn't just Travis Hunter lining up on both sides of the ball. It's also the Jaguars going electric. A franchise that for decades has played within the boring and stale acoustic lines, now sending out a two-way phenom, pairing him with Trevor Lawrence, and saying, why not us? Why not now? That's why I'm so optimistic about this season. And we'll see what happens on the gridiron, right? So hats off to Zaddy Gladstones for pulling off that trade. I think it was a NOS injection, like Fast and Furious, right into the core DNA of this franchise. You know, and like Dylan in 65, there will be skeptics here in 25. There'll be noise, but when the whistle's blown and when the ball is snapped, the only thing that matters is that the Jacksonville Jaguars will sound different. They will be larger. They will be louder. They will be sharper. They will be more dangerous than they ever have in recent memory. And that is what I'm looking forward to the most. And on that same night, Bob Dylan, after rip-roaring through some electric songs, he came out for an encore, and he finished by playing an acoustic song, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. The song, it's a farewell, but it's also a new beginning. And I wrote a little tune in the yarn of that song about Travis Hunter that I'm going to do here right now. The field lies quiet beneath the spinning sprinkler dew. Media hold their breath till sparks of a bold debut. Yonder stalks a self-proclaimed unicorn, guarding or shaking his respective pawn. Stat sheets scrawl with numbers, fate shall choose. And it's all somewhere now, number 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Thank you all very much. Special shout out to the Campione Law. Like, subscribe, share, whatever you have to do. Go Jaguars. We'll see you here in a couple weeks.